Hello, Tendies, Friendies. Welcome back to Tendies Club. Got a great show for you. Got a really important show for you. We have Hilary Metz with us right now on Zoom in the other room. And Hilary's father is in the Simufilam trials. And she, just like we talked with Doug Baker about two patients, two acquaintances of his in the Simufilam trials last week, Hilary is here to talk about her father in the Simufilam trials. Let's get right to it. We don't represent Cassava. Cassava has nothing to do with this. This is just a loved one of a patient speaking honestly. So with that, let's get right to it. And Hilary, can you hear me?
Yes, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, thank you. And I'm gonna launch right into it. Thanks so much for being with us. Thanks so much for taking the time, Hilary. I know you're a lawyer. You're very busy. I know you're a mom, and so thank you so much with everything else you have going on for taking the time to come speak with us today.
Yeah, no problem.
Great. I'm gonna launch right into us. Hilary, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, I live in Miami. I've been here 15 years, went to law school here. My dad's side of my family is originally from here, but my parents live in North Carolina now. Um, and basically, my father started having symptoms, I'd say in 2019 that were
Yep.
just very mild kind of things that our family would crack jokes about, like, geez, dad is just not as sharp or something.
Yeah.
um and then in 2021 he just went drastically downhill within a few months. And it was pretty significant how much he declined within, I'd say, about 6 months.
Yeah.
And the man I'm seeing happens to be a surgeon and really into biomedical, stocks and things like that, and really watches those daily and is a huge proponent and advocate to people for Sava because he's been, watching the results and everything.
Sure.
And he told me about the company.
Yeah.
So I started researching them myself, and wanted to get my dad into the trial. So I basically, did that as soon as I possibly could.
Very interesting. Thank you. So earlier in the year, there was 6-month results from the phase 2 open label trial. Very exciting results, cognition and behavioral benefits, and again more safety. So, and this is in line with a decade of results that were consistent. So, thank you very much. So you found out about these exciting results, and then your father is currently in the open label study taking Simufilam. Can you tell us about him? What his symptoms were? You told us a little. When was he diagnosed? And you told us a little about that as well. Uh, just because I had that, do you have anything else to add there? Anything else about your father that we didn't cover yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was diagnosed, I would say, very early 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw my parents for a couple weeks in May, and he he definitely, just wasn't himself, like his old sharp, fast self. And but it wasn't to the point where we were thinking we might need to hire someone to help us care for him. It wasn't to the point where we were thinking that that we might need to make arrangements to help my mom out. It wasn't to the point where we thought we couldn't leave him alone. And this is in May 2021.
Okay.
By by Ju- by July, my mom and my sister, who are, in North Carolina with him, were calling me once a week or a couple times a week, both of them saying, "Gosh, you really need to come see dad. He's just gone downhill, and he's not able to." One of the things my mom said, he can't even check his email anymore. He can't figure out how to log into the computer and check his email. He can't figure out how to log into his bank account online. And he'd been doing that for 10 years.
Yeah.
Um, he had stopped making his own coffee in the morning. He always, I mean, for my whole life, first thing in the morning, gets up and makes a pot of coffee.
Wow.
So simple, mundane things like that for most of us. But then, you got to realize if he's not able to do those things,
Yeah.
then that's pretty serious. So that was in July. So by August 1st, I took a week off work. I went to visit them. And, just because I needed to see for myself, how could he have gone downhill so fast within a few months? I just saw them in May.
Right.
And while I was there, a couple things happened. We left my father at home, and me and my mother were at my sister's house. My sister has 2 kids, I have 3 kids, and they drive my dad nuts. So we were all at my sister's house just spending some time together. My dad was at home. And my mom called me the next morning to say that when she went home, my father he's wearing like those pleated khaki shorts, that you see old men
Yep.
wearing with their dock shoes and
Yeah.
stuff on
Yep.
the waterfront. So he could not figure out how to get his hand in his pocket to get his wallet, with the pleats in the pants and things. He
Yep.
couldn't figure out how to get his hand in the pocket to get his wallet out. So he put his hand up under his shorts and ripped his whole pocket out of the pants in order to get the wallet out.
Wow.
So that's one thing he did. And then another time while I was there, it was just me and my father sitting at the kitchen table.
Hmm.
And I just mentioned something. I said something about my mom in passing. I said, oh, mom said, we're going to go to the store later or something like that, something very mundane. And he said to me, well, who's mom? And I said, my mom. And he said, well, but who do you mean when you say mom? Like, who are you talking about? And I said, my mother, not,
Yeah.
the person, mom. And then he said, well, but who is that? I know you're saying mom, but who is mom?
Wow.
And so I said her full name. I said, mom, and I
Yeah.
said her full
Yeah.
name to
Yeah.
him. And he said, well, that's my wife. And I said, yes, she's your wife and my mom. And he said, oh, okay, I
Oh my
see what you're
goodness.
saying.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, Dad, that's who I'm talking about.
Wow.
And he tried to come up with some excuse, of course, for why he
Sure.
couldn't remember. He said to me, well, it's just that you don't normally refer to her like that. And I said, Dad, I've been referring to her like that since I could talk, probably for about 40 years now, calling her mom. And he said, okay. Okay, Hillary, fine, you're right. Um, so, in the moment of that conversation,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I for a little while I thought he was kind of like joking with me, like,
Yeah. Putting you on.
and then when we were done with the conversation and he was like, it wasn't until he said, trying to make the excuse of, well, that's just not how you normally refer to her. It wasn't until then that it really hit me how serious it was,
Right.
that I was just like, wow,
Wow.
he doesn't, I felt like, tomorrow I could walk in the room and he not really remember who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I kind of went into a panic mode, and I was talking to the doctor that I'm seeing, and he said, well, this is the company that's doing this study. And I went on LinkedIn and I just started looking up every person I could find on LinkedIn that works for Cassava
Yeah.
Sciences, and I started calling them.
Wow.
And Lindsay Burns
Yeah.
called me back and recommended a site and a doctor. She gave me their direct number to get me signed up. And that was probably the second week of August. And by the first, by the end of August into the 1st of September, I had my parents down here for visits and they approved him for the study. And September 1st, he started on the medication.
Thank you very much. Wow. Okay, great. So September 1st, he started the medication. Uh, and so you thank you so much for this, for the in-depth stories about as he was very quickly going downhill. So you said he started in 2019, and then May 2021 into August, he really started going downhill quickly. September, beginning of
Yeah.
yeah, and then beginning of September, he goes into the study. Then, so he goes into the study beginning of September. What changes have what have you witnessed, and what changes have your other loved ones seen as well?
Well, I mean, it's just it's hard to even quantify it besides being able to just tell you a few of the things and major differences that are, when you look at it in the whole, it's life changing. I mean, he's back to doing his regular stuff like checking his email, he's making his coffee again in the morning, he's doing yard work, he's cleaning the yard, he's mowing the lawn. He had
Wow.
stopped doing all that stuff. um they came down to Florida, I want to say in November. Yeah, because I was with them for Thanksgiving. They have a house on the west coast of Florida. Oh, and my dad drove down
You're
here,
kidding
and he had
me.
stopped driving.
Wow.
Yeah,
Why?
he had stopped driving, and I thought my mom was driving them down. And
From
when
North
they got
Carolina,
here
you
and I
said,
met
right?
up with them,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
from North Carolina. Now they spend the night in a hotel in Georgia, so that it's not like they're driving the whole way
Sure.
through, but
Sure.
still.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
But I thought my mom was driving them, and my dad actually drove them the whole way, and I said,
You're
"Why
kidding me.
is dad driving?" And my mom said, "Because he's fine and he wants to." And I was like, "Geez, okay." And before, he was acting nervous about driving and wanting my mother to drive him, even just around their little town where they've lived for 35 years.
Wow. Wow.
So he wasn't even driving the trash to the dump by himself anymore.
Goodness.
um and as I was telling you when we spoke briefly before, in August when I went to see them, I was already mentally like making plans on how I
Yeah.
could move back to North Carolina, work remotely to be with my parents, to help my mom so she wouldn't feel so stressed out and so trapped by all of a sudden having someone that she can't leave alone. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Fast forward to now, I have no plans on moving back to North Carolina at all. Um, Unless something changes that I just want to as of now. I'm actually just closing on a property here in Florida in the next couple weeks because I plan
Congratulations.
on thanks, because I plan on staying here. I don't, as of now, there's no reason for me to be thinking I need to go back to North Carolina to help be a caregiver because they're they're doing great. I mean, it's not only amazing for my dad just because he got some of his independence back, and I'm not going to say he's 100%.
Uh
He's not back to where he was, let's say, in 2019.
huh.
He still stutters a little bit.
Okay.
He still sometimes has trouble remembering the exact words that he wants to say.
I see.
The biggest difference with that though is now when I call and he answers,
Uh huh.
he sounds like himself,
Uh huh.
and I can have full conversations with him. I can talk to him on the phone for 20 or 30 minutes.
Wow.
And the only reason we get off the phone is because he's not a big phone
Right.
person. So after a while he's like, "Well, that's all I've got for you. That's all the updates here." But there were times before I went up in August, there was one time when I called him, and he answered, and I said, "Hey dad, how are you?" And he said, "I'm good. I'm gonna get someone on the phone that can talk better than me," and just
Oh,
handed the phone to my mother
gee.
and walked away. And I was
Oh
like,
my God.
"Okay, well, nice talking to you, you know."
So impersonal.
um yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, my mother goes out and does whatever activities and errands and goes to lunch with friends and leaves my dad alone now. I mean, he can stay there and
Amazing.
do whatever he wants. He can get in the car and go to the dump or the store or whatever they want to do. And it's not an issue to leave him alone anymore. Um, there's still once in a while where I'll ask him if he can do something. We're working on all of their estate planning and just making sure all of that is in order,
Hmm.
especially since he is, able to understand everything.
Right.
And, there's once in a while I'll ask him to do something and he'll act like it's much more difficult. And it's a task that in the past there would be no hesitation
Yeah.
or no questioning it or no like, oh, that sounds hard. It's just, oh, you need to make a phone call and confirm something. Once in a while he'll act like what I'm asking him to do sounds complicated,
Hmm.
but if that's the worst
Yeah.
that's happening, then I mean, I'm all for it.
Yeah. 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 Thank you. Terrific. And then, so it seems like it hasn't been that long. Do you know how long did it take for the changes to start being noticeable to you or your mom or your sister or?
Well, so he started taking the medication September 1st, and the doctor running our study, I asked him how long it normally took for people to notice any differences.
Hmm.
And this was in private. I didn't ask him in front of my parents. He told me that he has had reports from patients and loved ones as soon as 20 days that
Wow.
they've noticed a difference.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't tell my parents that.
Good.
I told my sister that just so she could keep an eye out for it, but we agreed don't tell my mom or dad that because we just want to see
Yeah.
what is going to happen.
Yeah.
And so, after about 3 weeks, I asked my mom if she noticed anything different and my sister, and they couldn't really tell anything different. And I asked my dad, and he said, "Well, I do feel like I have a little more pep in my step, whatever that is supposed to mean."
Yeah.
Like, so something was happening. He could physically feel a difference.
Great.
The next thing that made a huge difference was we got him on a good sleep aid medication. He was
Hmm.
having extreme difficulty sleeping, and
Yeah.
that's a big symptom of
Right.
Alzheimer's patients
Insomnia.
is they're
Sure.
up all night.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, and so um that wasn't until I want to say October that he got the sleep aid. So for the first 2 months, he was only on the Cassava drug, and I can't pronounce that name, so I'm
Simufilam.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. And after about a little over a month, my mom started noticing some smaller differences. He had started making the coffee again,
Good.
some small things. And then once we got the sleep aid plus the Sava medication, he was, I mean, immediately within the week, noticed a big difference.
Which sleep aid did you go with?
I really don't know what
Was
it
it? Do you know
is.
if it was prescribed or it was an over the counter? Or?
Yeah, yeah, it was prescribed. I had called his doctor that was administering the study, and I said, "Look, he's doing better, and he notices differences. So do we, but he's just still having such a terrible time sleeping. Is he allowed to get a sleep medication, and will that affect anything in the study?" And he said, "No." I mean, getting a good night's sleep is always the
Yeah.
best for anyone. So if anything, if he can start sleeping better, that will enhance it. And so he went to his regular doctor in North Carolina, and I know they prescribed him a sleep aid.
Great. Great. Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly which one it is.
Good. That's
And that made a huge difference as well, because then he's not waking my mother up in the middle of the night either. So um, I'm not there, so I don't see him every day. I just talk to him on the phone, and then I see him every time they come to see the doctor for the study.
Hmm.
But it's definitely a huge difference. I mean, even just he's just more back to being my normal dad. He's got his normal kind of confidence back.
Yeah.
Whereas before he was very concerned and second guessing himself about everything,
Yeah.
even if it was just like, are we packing stuff in the car and is it time to go? He leaned on my mother to basically make sure every step he was taking was okay.
Wow.
Now he's back to being more sarcastic and a jerk.
I felt that about my dog. I was worried about him one time. And then when he started annoying me again, I was like, all right, you're better. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
And then have there been any adverse effects, any downsides you guys have noticed?
Nothing.
Nothing. Hey,
Literally nothing.
Literally nothing. That's excellent. And then I think you sort of have addressed this, but did he seem to level off, decline a little, to get better continually, or any notice there?
So the last in-person doctor visit he had was December 1st of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And that visit, I remember, went really well, and he had passed some memory tests that they were giving him.
Yeah.
And I think that his score was the highest he'd had since starting the study.
Great.
And he himself was excited about that. He felt like he had won the test or something, like done good on the test.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So they have a the next appointment is virtual, and then I don't think the next in-person appointment is going to be until March.
Okay.
So I'm not sure about leveling off, or if he still has room for improvement at this point. I mean, to be honest with you, if he never gets any better than he is right now, but he doesn't get any worse, it's a win all the way around.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that we can really expect someone to get back to 100%, especially if there is potential damage to tissue in your brain. And I don't know enough about that. I'm just speculating, but I wouldn't. Me personally, I don't have expectations for him to be back to 100%. I'm just happy that he improved drastically from where he was.
Yeah.
And I feel like, we could all definitely live the rest of our lives, however long that may be, with my dad at this state, and be happy because we've got our dad, and he remembers everything and knows how to do stuff, and still participates. And I mean, he's driving around and, doing well.
Driving from North Carolina. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily want him to keep doing that, but he feels up to it. So that's the important part.
Great. And then, so thank you, Hilary. Thank you so much. As we're speaking, there's so many comments coming in just saying thank you and how powerful they think your testimonial is. So thank you so much. One last question, and then maybe, I know, it's almost been half an hour already. I know we were only scheduled for half an hour. We'll see if you have time for a question or two after that. But I've got one more question. Cassava is currently recruiting AD patients for its phase 3 studies. Do you have any message for those that have a loved one with Alzheimer's disease?
I would do whatever possible to get them in the study.
Amen.
I personally, I might be in a different position than some people. I could afford to fly my parents down to Miami every month and make sure they see the doctor and have a place for them to stay. I know everyone can't do that, and it is a financial cost to me, but I also looked at it like the cost of 2 plane tickets, and for them to stay here for a couple days a month is nowhere near the cost it would be to have in-home health care and someone trying to help care, like a nurse to help care for my dad. It's nowhere near the cost of, going back in a year and him not recognizing me. It's nowhere near the cost of having to move my family back to North Carolina to an area that I don't necessarily want to live in. I'd rather just visit and them come here like they have been. So that's the way I looked at it. And I know everyone might not be able to financially do that, but if you can, you shouldn't hesitate to do it. Or you should just find out where the nearest study is. I mean, I would have flown to North Carolina every month if I had to, and driven them 5 hours to appointments if I had to. I mean, it's worth it, because after a month or so, you really start to see that that
Your
person
story.
is getting
My
their
goodness.
life back,
Yeah.
and that affects all of us, everyone around us.
Absolutely, yeah, everybody, right, right, and that's so much for the person, as you say, and then it's a caretakers are so effective. Your mom, everyone, yeah, as you say. Wow, thank you so much, Hilary. There's so many. Speaking of thank you, there's so many thank yous coming in. Peter, Daily Mix, UK, Reef, Richard, Bernard. Everyone says thank you. And then I do have a question here. Everyone says thank you, and everyone says thank you for your courage as well. And here's one. UK says, thank you, Hilary. We are grateful to you for turning up, and prayers that this drug helps heal your loved one and many others like your family. There's a campaign going on against Cassava, and we needed this. So it's really, there's a lot of people, just a lot of comments coming in saying thank you and how important it is to hear your story. So I just wanted to sort of get a representative one there. And
Yeah,
then,
no problem.
yeah, and then a sort of a question here. So hi, Hillary, says Richard. How long? Oh, sorry, not how long. We talked about how long your father's been taking the drug. There's another one here. Someone asked, I might not father again. Did your father have any health problems before Alzheimer's disease? Somebody asked.
He had high blood pressure sometimes. Sometimes he had extremely low blood sugar. That kind of runs in my family.
Yes.
And he had a heart attack back in, gosh, I want to say, I think it was the very beginning of 2016. It wasn't a major one, but it was a heart attack still.
Yes.
That's pretty much it as far as medical history before taking the drug. And every month they take blood, they do his blood pressure. He sees his regular doctor up in North Carolina as well. So they monitor all of the blood work and blood pressure and all that kind of stuff.
Excellent. And those are all risk factors for Alzheimer's disease: hypertension, diabetes with the blood sugar, and the cardiovascular. But the cardiovascular and Alzheimer's disease has a lot of overlap with the risk factors. So that's interesting. Thank you for sharing that. And then 83 Anthony, who helped us get this interview set up, says, Hillary, would it be possible in the name of your father to file a petition to FDA to expedite treatment? So many people in need of treatment. I think Anthony might be thinking here of the fact that you're an attorney as well. So there's and to add some color to this, there's a petition right now to stop these trials as if there was safety concerns.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Anthony is wondering, would it be possible in the name of your father to file a petition to expedite the treatment instead?
I have thought of it. I just haven't had a chance to look into it.
Yeah.
The petitions that I've looked at that are asking to stop the trials, I don't think they are going to hold any weight, or anyone with any real background in this is going to give it any significant treatment at all.
Yep.
But I have thought about it. I just haven't looked into how to do it and whatnot. So
Okay.
I have thought about doing it though,
Yep.
because mostly just because of all the people that are against it. I just feel like they're greedy and ignorant.
Yeah, greedy and ignorant. Well said. Thank you. I couldn't agree more. And when we were talking earlier, Hillary, you were saying if they had a loved one in this position, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
There's no way they'd be signing their loved one up for the study faster than they could apologize to everyone.
Yes, they would. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Well said. Yep. And then, do you have a little time for us? It is 9:30, and I know how busy you are. Do we have a lot more questions? Do you have any more time for us?
Yeah, I'll spend a few more minutes,
Okay.
and then I've really got to get to
I know you
work.
do. I know you do. I know. Thanks so much. So, Hillary, thank you, Hillary. Has your father been on any medications? And had he been on any other medications before this? Had he been on any other medications for the symptoms?
Yes, he had started on one medication. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I want to say, I believe it's Aricept or something like that.
Yes, 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 yes. Aricept.
Drug that's known, what I know about the drug is that it's known for not working after 6 months.
Yes, it is. Yep,
And
a stimulant.
yeah, and
Yep.
so my father had already been taking that for well over 6 months when he started the Sava trial. And it was obviously not working because he went downhill pretty fast there towards uh, July and August. So obviously it was not working.
Yep. Excellent. Thanks very much. And then Danny Dwong says, "Congratulations, Hillary, on your father's improving health. Can you tell us more about feedback on the trial you've heard from your site doctor?"
Um, well, obviously he wouldn't be telling me about specific patients, and I wouldn't ask
Sure,
that,
of
but
course. Yeah.
he did comment to me that he has never had a patient in the trial that didn't show at least some signs of improvement and some, improvement from taking the drug. He
Yep.
didn't go into detail
Yep.
as to at least how much at least some meant.
Yep.
So, and then I don't know if there's people that are accepted into the trial with more severe symptoms than my father that maybe then they don't improve as much. I really don't
Sure.
know.
Sure.
All I know is he did comment to me one time that he hasn't had a single person in a trial for this drug that didn't improve some.
That's incredible. Wow. Thanks for sharing that. Wow. Did you happen to know how many he's seen?
He did say that he'd seen more than 200 people.
Wow. 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 Thank you so much. And then here's just not a question, but a comment. So C. Shad says, "Amazing testimonial, Hillary. God bless you and your family. Thank you so much for sharing." So just that just represents a lot of those comments coming in.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm happy to share. I hope that anyone that can get a loved one into one of these studies as soon as possible. I really feel bad for the people that can't get someone into a study that know about it and want to and don't have access to it. I mean, that's the worst part of it.
I
And
agree.
I just wish that it was more accessible for people because it's made such a difference. I mean, I feel like it's really changed the narrative of my
Yeah.
family's
Yeah.
story. And
Yeah.
my biggest fear is that my dad won't have access to this drug anymore.
And to go with that thread of what you're saying there, Mike V says, "Thank you for the testimonial, Hillary. What do you feel about your father potentially coming off this Simufilam in the placebo trial? Because your father started in September, so he'll be good for 12 months. But then if the drug is still not, and the follow up there with Mike is, should the FDA grant breakthrough therapy designation? Because then he can go into the phase 3 from there, perhaps, or the CMS from there. But those are placebo trials." Uh, so, what do you to go as you just said, one of your greatest fears, and what do you think and feel about him coming up, potentially coming off of that, and should the FDA grant breakthrough therapy designation is the question.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know how to word it
Yeah,
any
yeah, yeah,
differently than
yeah,
to
yeah.
say that my biggest fear is that he'll get a placebo and not get the drug. And then if what I do know is that if they put him on a placebo for 6 months, after that 6 months, he will get a year's supply of the drug for free. But I'm worried what could happen in that 6-month period if he's on a placebo. I really think that they should just do away with the placebo trials. The
Yes,
placebo part of it was how he acted before he got on the
yes,
drug.
yes. Agreed.
And I think to put people through a placebo phase in something like this is just cruel. I mean,
Yeah,
you
cruel.
see their markers when they come in. Why make them
Yeah,
go back to being on nothing? And I know it's not up to the company,
Right.
this is what they have to do in
Yes.
order to get approval.
Right,
So
to
I'm
get it to
not
everybody.
upset with
Yeah.
it, but I think that something needs to be changed. I mean, I want to hope that my dad will be a lucky one to not be on the placebo, but that doesn't take away from the other people in the study that might get a
Yeah.
placebo and not the real drug.
Right.
And it's very scary to
Yeah.
me. I just really hope that the FDA approves this drug before these trials are done so that the people that have already started on the medication continue to have it, and that, it opens it up for everyone to be able to go to their doctor and get a prescription for it.
Thank you so much. It's a very well said, and I couldn't agree more. And so it's the FDA that needs to act, as you said, and they need to bring this drug to market. They have a program, breakthrough therapy designation. It just sure seems to apply here, and they approved Aduhelm, so this should be on the market too, and help the family. So thank you so much. People are just keep saying how powerful your story is, Hillary. Someone is saying, would you be willing to do like a 60 Minutes or Oprah to get this on a national level?
Of course. I
Of course,
mean,
yeah,
who
great.
wouldn't want to be on Oprah regardless?
Yeah.
No, but I would love to speak out on behalf of advocating for the company. I know that as employees for a company, you're sometimes not the best advocate is because you're viewed as biased, but
Right,
as someone
right.
whose family member is in the trial, I mean, I just want them to approve the drug so he can keep going with the drug. I don't want there to be any lapse in this medication
I
because as of now, I mean, we haven't seen any indication that he'll start to all of a sudden get worse again. I mean, like I said, if he stays like he is right now for the rest of his life, we're golden. We're
yeah,
happy.
yeah, 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 I agree. So, and yeah, if so, and it's but potentially it could even get better. But if just stabilizing here would be incredible. And then
Yeah.
there's a question here about diagnosis. Uh, the same company is working on a blood test that could potentially looks like a good chance they could to diagnose Alzheimer's disease. Right now, there's not really good diagnosis for Alzheimer's disease. Do you know how your dad did he have a PET scan or an MRI? Someone is asking. Do you know how he was diagnosed originally?
Well, he was originally diagnosed by his doctor in North Carolina. I'm
Hmm.
not really sure
Yep. Okay.
what they did to diagnose him. Like I said, he was on the Aricept,
Yep.
and for a while, information was a bit murky with my parents, as I think a lot of people can relate to. As your parents get older, they kind of stop telling you some
Oh,
things, or
sure.
they leave
Health
they
stuff
leave
too.
out
Yeah.
chunks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they leave out chunks of information
Right.
that are
Right.
important,
Right.
but they
Right.
just don't think about it because they think they've got everything under control.
Right.
Um, so I'm not sure how he was diagnosed from the doctor in North Carolina, but in order to get into the study, he did um, a pretty serious, rigorous testing for a day or two.
Hmm.
Blood work. They did a spinal
They did
tap
a spinal. Okay. There's. Oh,
because,
wow. Interesting.
yep, and they did lots of memory tests, and yeah, they approved him. I had him come down here for a week, so they did all the tests Monday, Tuesday, so that if they approved him, he could start the medication that Friday before they left town, and that's what we did.
Wow. Interesting. Thank you. And so someone else just asked, did they do a biomarker test? And so for the spinal tap, it seems like they did. Did you happen to see any results for biomarkers?
No, I mean,
No.
and I wouldn't know what I was looking at
Sure. Sure. Yep.
if
Great.
you gave me blood work reset tests or any of that.
And then one more comment here, and then we'll let you go, Hillary. There's lots and lots of comments saying thank you and how much they appreciate it. The one here from P. Sigarn just wanted to say how great of a daughter you are to take care of your dad, and how courageous you are to come here and talk about Simufilam. You'll be one of the heroes in our movie about Sava. So just a lot of
Oh,
people saying
thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah, a lot of
Thank you. I mean, I never could have thought that the results would be this great, and how much it was affecting everyone when my father, before he started taking the medication or after. It's
Right.
It's really life changing to go from one set of thoughts of what you think you need to do to now, you know. So I'm really happy for my dad, but also my mom, who feels like she can live her best retirement life now and not feel stuck at home being a caregiver. Um, you know, I'm just happy for both of them. I was as worried about my mom as I was my dad,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
now
Right.
I don't have to be.
Good.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a big deal, and I just hope that other people can get access to this as fast as possible, because I do know some people that have family members that have Alzheimer's that
Yep.
are way, way farther down the road in the progression of
Yep.
their disease when my father started this, and they either didn't feel like they could get help for their family anymore because it was too late.
Yep.
Um, One person I spoke to whose dad was much worse than my father at the point when he had started the study. You know, I tried to convince him to at least go get his dad checked out, but you know, there's just so much suspicion about drug trials in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
And you know, I probably would have been someone suspicious of drug trials until I was in the position where I had no other options
Yeah.
and there was nothing out there that could help my father,
Yep.
that I felt like there was no downside to trying it, you know? I
Yep.
was desperate to not have him go down the road that his father went down, you know? I was desperate to not have to be losing my dad, but living with him physically for the next 5,
Right.
10,
Right.
15
Right.
years,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Right. Right.
So, I mean, you make your decisions on things differently when it affects you personally and your family personally. And I think that if the people attacking Cassava Sciences, the individuals that are attacking it, I think that they just have probably a financial interest
Yes.
in stock going
Yep.
down,
Yep.
and they've probably never had anyone in their family going through this, because if they did, they would do whatever it took to try to find help and a solution for their family member.
Amen. Amen. Yes, they would. Yes, they would. They wouldn't be doing what they're doing. Hilary, thank you so much. One last thing is, it looks like people are trying to take you up on Oprah. So if we can get a really, if we can really help her get this story on Oprah, would be amazing and help the company tremendously. There's a lot of people I think that might try to get you on Oprah. So as long as that is open, it looks like that might people are going to try to make that happen. Hilary, thank you so much. The best to you and your family and your father and everyone. Congratulations on him and your home, your new home, and everything. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and speak with us today. On behalf of everyone, there's so many people saying thank you and that just appreciate this powerful story. So thank you, Hilary, so much for coming today.
Anytime, and if you need me back on at
Excellent.
any point in the future for, you know, updates or more
Yes,
news or to
please.
help, just let me know. You have my contact information. I'm happy to help.
We will definitely do that. Thank you. We'll definitely do that. Thanks so much, Hilary. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks.
Have a good day, Joe.
You
Thanks.
too, Hilary. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye. Okay. Right. That was amazing. Hillary's story was absolutely amazing. Let's do. We'll do another episode tomorrow to recap it and talk all about it. I'll edit it up, but we have a 3 o'clock interview with Dr. Milton Warner, which we'll do as we'll do that interview as well. So please come back for that. What a great interview! There's the petition. If you guys are excited about this getting this breakthrough therapy designation for this drug, the petition to speed this drug up is linked in this video. The link for the trials, if you know people with Alzheimer's disease or with loved ones that have Alzheimer's disease, get them in this trial. The link to the trial. The only way to get the drug is to go in the phase 3 trials now. The phase 2 that Hillary's dad is fully enrolled. So go in the phase 3s. It's the only way to get the drug now, and sign the petition to help bring this drug to the market. Uh, and send that petition around, please. We want to get more than 10,000. We got more than 1,000 now, which is great. Let's get more than 10,000 signatures on there. And everybody's saying such wonderful things about what a great interview we had with Hilary. It really, really, really was. Yeah, thanks guys so much for being here. Thanks for the great questions. This was really great. I'm going to wrap it up. See you on the next one. Bye bye. See you soon.